It is now 8:30. Good Friday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, also streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Our guest this morning, the fifth and final candidate for Haralson County Sheriff that we've been able to interview. Not to suggest that the qualifying timing means anything or any kind of ranking here. Just happens to be the fifth gentleman that we'll interview in that race this morning, because Haralson County will have a brand new sheriff in 2021. Either way, the incumbent did not qualify, but as I said, five others did. Those gentlemen: Brian Finley, Chet Henderson, Wade Williams, Stacy Williams, and our guest this morning, John Hutcheson. The previous four names I mentioned, we've interviewed them, and their interviews are posted to the newstalk1330.com website, as well as the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. So at the conclusion of today's interview with John, I hope you can gather all five of those, sit down for 2.5 hours. You've got time. You can listen to all of those interviews. Having said that, let me introduce you this morning to John Hutcheson. John, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And appreciate you tuning in with us this morning. Doing this over the phone, obviously, with social distancing. We've had to change our plans with things this morning. And thank you and all of the candidates and everybody else who's been able to accommodate us doing these over the phone. And good to talk to you this morning. First of all, how is your family coping with social distancing? How are you guys working to prevent the spread of this virus?
Well, we have been following the guidelines. We've been sheltering in place. We have gotten out a few times to go get, the essentials, going to the grocery store, things like that. But pretty much just trying to abide by the rules, and hopefully this thing will pass and we can get back to some sense of normalcy.
Does this, I guess, the social distancing being shelter in place, actually, is that kind of does that put a damper on your enthusiasm for a campaign, or even just this race in general? I mean, how does that affect you when you're trying to campaign?
It has provided some logistical challenges. Obviously, during this point of the campaign, leading up to Election Day, I would like to be out going door to door, being in the community as much as I can, having as much face-to-face contact with the voters and the citizens of Haralson County. But, being faced with the situation that we do, had to rely on stepping up my campaign on social media. But, Colin, this is not my first race. I ran in the 2016 election, and I had a very strong social media campaign then, so it's not something that's new to me. I just stepped up my game and, looking for innovative ways that I can get my message out to the voters. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this interview with you guys this morning, to get out to, my platform to your listeners this morning. So thank you.
Absolutely. 8:33, John Hutcheson, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, one of five candidates for sheriff in Haralson County. As you're applying for this job, go over your resume for us.
All right. Like you said, it's a job. I'm looking for the job. I'm not looking for a position. But for the last 4 years, since the last election, I went back to the Department of Public Safety. I'm in full-time training down at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center. Before that, I spent 16 years serving the state of Georgia as a state trooper. Started my law enforcement career out back with the Haralson County Sheriff's Office. So going from present back to the beginning, I've worked as a sheriff's deputy, short stint with the Tallapoosa Police Department, and then the majority of my time has been with the Department of Public Safety.
Thinking about that role on a state level, what motivated you? What's the interest to be sheriff of a county, as opposed to working in an entire state, being able to work with an entire state or a district, I guess, for the most part? What's motivating you to be sheriff of Haralson County?
Well, I started seeing some of the problems that we faced as far as our county. Like you say, working on a state level, I worked several counties, but I have a passion to serve the people of my county, and we have a huge drug problem here in Haralson County. That's not something that I'm proud to talk about. As far as when you talk about where you're from, everybody says, well, you're from Haralson County. Y'all got the number one drug problem in the state. Well, that's something that I want to change, and I have a very strong passion for helping people and serving my community. I have a great job as far as what I do now. I get to serve the public safety community, but I want to be here in my home county, working in my community, serving the people that I live around, my relatives, my friends, the citizens and the voters of Haralson County. That's where my passion is, and so that's what motivated me to step out in 15, and seek the office of sheriff. I came up a little bit short, but I look at it as a blessing because during the last 4 years, I've been able to gain a lot of knowledge toward doing the job that I'm seeking.
Each of these interviews, I try to find one thing that would, just one minor thing that might separate each of these candidates. I mean, all law enforcement experience. What's the one thing you think that would separate you from all these candidates, the rest of them?
I think the training and the experience that I've gotten over the last 4 years. I currently hold the rank of a major, and I'm over a lot of personnel, but I'm also over inmates, and that's given me, I think, the edge. I deal with budgets every day. I deal with personnel actions. I deal with the hiring and the termination of employees if it comes to that. So I think that gives me the edge over the rest of my opponents because some of them does not have that experience. It's more than what you get as just a everyday patrol officer working the streets. So, like I said, I've been given the benefit of being able to gain all that knowledge over the last 4 years, and so I just think that it's set me up in line. It's almost like I'm already running a smaller department when you look at all the moving parts that come together to make up what we do.
I think each of the candidates did say the drug issue was their biggest concern and what they want to remedy the most. And when I see comments on social media, that seems to be what the residents are asking most about and most interested in. How do you go about correcting the drug problem in Haralson County?
I think we need to be more proactive. We need to allow our deputies the liberty to do their jobs as far as when they see violations, make that traffic stop and see what's going on. It doesn't mean that we want to write a ticket every time or that we're going to put somebody in jail every time we make a stop, but I want our deputies to be out in the communities. I want them to be interactive. And that's going to, if you do that, you're going to cut down on some of your drug issue, but you're also going to cut down on some of your crime rate that spins off of the drug problem. I talk to the citizens while I'm out there, when I was able to get out there, and when you and I work for something, and then when we come home from work and you see your tool shed, the door standing open, and you realize that someone's stolen your tools, that's an issue, and it doesn't sit well with me. And so I want our deputies to be more proactive in the communities, trying to stop some of this crime before it starts. And that all spins off of the drug problem. We've got a lot of people in this county that are addicted to drugs. And so they're out looking to steal something where they can go pawn it to get their next fix. And so we've just got to do something overall as far as what the drug issue is. Also, the ones that are distributing these drugs, some of them's never seen the inside of a jail cell. And under my leadership, if I get the opportunity, I'm ready to go to work. And we're going to make some solid cases and put these drug dealers in jail. If they're dealing drugs to our children or our citizens, they're public enemy number one to John Hutcheson.
Speeding is also something that I see a lot mentioned, speeding in the rural areas, part of the county, in Haralson County. Is an issue. Are there things that the sheriff's office can do better, and what would you do better to curtail speeding or to be more effective in reducing speeding through those rural areas and those country roads?
Yes, Colin, and I've vowed that I will enforce all the laws equally across the board. I don't want Haralson County to be known as a speed trap because there are other things that are more prevalent. But yes, I think that we do need to slow the motoring public down on some of these backcountry roads, not in an aspect of generating revenue, but I want to be able to slow those motorists down for their safety and the effort to reduce traffic crashes. If we're just going to be out there writing speeding tickets, then that's what the Georgia State Patrol is for. I have a good working relationship with them, obviously, because I spent so many years with them, and I would advocate them to work our county and helping the Sheriff's Department slow some of the traffic down to where we can reduce some of these crashes. But yes, I would definitely be an advocate of training our deputies, making sure that through grants and things that we get some updated equipment as far as speed detection devices to go in the patrol cars. But, speeding is important. Reducing traffic crashes is important. But I think that the drug problem takes more of a precedence than what we face right now in Haralson County.
841, our guest this morning is John Hutcheson. He's one of 5 candidates running for sheriff in Haralson County. He is the 5th candidate we've had the opportunity to interview on the Community Voice program. Again, our previous shows are posted in the archive section under podcasts on the newstalk1330.com website. Also want to remind you that Georgia's primary election, which was initially set for May the 19th, would have featured this sheriff's race. It's been postponed 3 weeks to June the 9th due to health and safety concerns over coronavirus. Early voting would actually begin on May the 18th. And if you've requested a absentee ballot, you've already done that through Haralson County, those are expected to be mailed out from the state beginning next week. So you could be receiving those in the mail pretty soon. We'll take our first break right now at 8:42. Come back and continue our conversation with Haralson County Sheriff candidate John Hutcheson on the Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com, and sponsored by Oak Mountain Academy and Tanner Health System.
As we journey through this global pandemic together, Oak Mountain Academy is lifting everyone in prayer and holding the community in our hearts. We continue to pray for all of the families directly impacted and the first responders and medical personnel on the front lines. There are so many individuals working around the clock to keep us safe and healthy. I'm Patrick Uran, headmaster, asking you to join all of us on the mountain in prayer and gratitude for everyone in our community. For more information about the Academy, visit us at oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, our heroes are fighting the COVID-19 virus around the clock, but you have an important job too, and it's urgent. Stay home.
We all must work together to stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus.
Staying home is the only way to avoid exposing your loved ones to this virus.
Each time you leave your home, you risk exposing yourself and spreading the virus to others in our community and in your home.
Do your part so we can continue to do ours. Stay home.
It can save the life of someone you love.
843, Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. I'm Colin Worthington, your host on this Friday. My guest is John Hutcheson, one of 5 candidates running for sheriff in Haralson County. John, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
What's the process that you would offer current employees? What process would you put them through to decide if you would retain them in 2021?
Well, I think that there needs to be a period where there's some valuation. I know a few of the employees there now. I've worked with them when I worked here in the county, but a lot of them that I don't know. A lot of them are young. So there would be an evaluation process. I would take the advice from some of the people that have been there for a little while that know these people. My chief deputy candidate, Philip Wagner, works here in the county. He works around some of the people that currently work there, so he's got a little bit more of an insight of the current personnel. So I would listen to his advice, and we would just sit down and make evaluations and make determinations going forward from there. But, during politics, you hear, well, if this person gets it, he's going to come in and he's going to clean house, he's going to fire everyone. Well, that's simply not the case with me. And I want, the current employees to understand that. coming in the door, if I get the opportunity to be elected, I'm not going to fire everyone that works there. There will be some personnel changes. I want the maximum efficiency for the Haralson County Sheriff's Department for it to run like a well-oiled machine, and I think that's just for the benefit of the citizens and the voters of Haralson County. But, it'd be foolish for me to fire everyone there because I can't do it by myself.
What is something that the current Haralson County Sheriff's Office administration that you believe they've done well, that you might look at that and want to continue that? What's something that you believe they maybe didn't succeed at or could do better, and how would you make that happen?
Well, for years it's been a small town sheriff's office. I want to continue to have an open door policy, but I want to make sure that the citizens understand that when I say this, it's not just a campaign promise. I want the citizens to feel comfortable about interacting with me if I get the opportunity to be their sheriff. I want to be involved in the community. I want to know what's going on within our community so that, if there's problems, that I can look for ways to bring about solutions to those problems. And going back to the same platform that I ran on in 16, I'm still running on those same platforms as far as something that, I feel like that there's a deficiency in, is being more proactive. And also I want to be more frugal, a better steward of the taxpayers' dollars. I want to be able to work within the allotted budget that's set forth for the Sheriff's Department. And in those ways, looking for ways to be more efficient, looking for ways to apply for grants and things like that to bring more revenue to a sheriff's office here in rural Georgia that may not have, the most updated equipment like some of these other departments have. So those are some of the things that I want to move forward and advance on based on what we currently have.
847, John Hutcheson, one of 5 candidates for sheriff in Haralson County, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. To be more frugal with the budget and spending money, do you have an example that you have in mind that maybe money wasn't spent wisely?
Well, for the last several years, looking at the financials, the sheriff's office has been over budget. And then you look at ways. Right now, we don't bring in very much revenue. If I get the opportunity, I would like to move some personnel around to where we can work some traffic on the interstate. In my past career, I've been able to be out there on the interstate working drug interdiction. And there's, drugs and criminal enterprise going up and down I-20 every day, and it's not being worked. And there's revenue out there. In drug interdiction, you have to slow them down to where you can work that traffic as far as looking for drugs. And so you're going to gain revenue based off of those traffic stops and those traffic violations. Also, when you are making these stops and you seize assets, that's a benefit for the Sheriff's Department. So that would help toward equipment and training. And then if you can spend those asset forfeiture dollars on training and equipment, then you don't have to spend that out of the general fund. And so I think that we can be more efficient with that. That's part of my plan as far as on the financial side of it. And just looking for ways to be more frugal with the tax dollars. I'll give you an example of my current employment. When I took over at driver training at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, we've increased our training fleet by about, I would say, 75 vehicles, roughly. And we put on probably 50 more training classes, but I came in under my budget. And that was something that didn't happen the previous year. So I give my staff the credit for it. I told them that we wanted to implement ways that we could save dollars and be more frugal. So, if I get the opportunity to come home to Haralson County, I'll bring those same principles here to our sheriff's office to where we can run this office more efficiently and not be as much of a burden on the backs of the taxpayer.
Having worked on the state level, what's the biggest need for law enforcement officers, and maybe even turn that into on the local level? I mean, is there some sort of legislation that would benefit officers? Just starting back, what is that need?
Well, you always need numbers. You look at the Sheriff's Association from across the state, and all the sheriffs are needing employees, whether it be in the jail or whether it be on the road. You want to have adequate coverage for the call volume that you face on the patrol division side of it. So yes, getting officers through mandate training is one of the crucial needs. As far as legislation, I think that you look at, we need a better retirement system for law enforcement officers or public safety officers across the board. I think that that's one of the issues that people look at and is maybe a deterrent for young officers coming into this profession. You don't see as many officers wanting to be police officers these days like you did 20 years ago. And I think it's just a progression of the signs of the times. I mean, it's something that, you look at when you come out of college or you get out of high school. A younger person is looking to make a career for themselves, and they want to make as much money as they possibly can. Going into law enforcement, we all understand that we're not going into this profession to get rich. It's a calling. You got to love what you do to be able to put your life on the line for someone you don't know every day.
John Hutcheson, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. John, one of 5 candidates running for sheriff in Haralson County. Time right now is 8:52. We'll take our final break, come back and wrap up our conversation with John. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy.
At Tanner, our heroes are fighting the COVID-19 virus around the clock, but you have an important job too, and it's urgent. Stay home.
We all must work together to stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus.
Staying home is the only way to avoid exposing your loved ones to this virus.
Each time you leave your home, you risk exposing yourself and spreading the virus to others in our community and in your home.
Do your part so we can continue to do ours. Stay home.
It can save the life of someone you love.
As we journey through this global pandemic together, Oak Mountain Academy is lifting everyone in prayer and holding the community in our hearts. We continue to pray for all of the families directly impacted and the first responders and medical personnel on the front lines. There are so many individuals working around the clock to keep us safe and healthy. I'm Patrick Uran, headmaster, asking you to join all of us on the mountain in prayer and gratitude for everyone in our community. For more information about the Academy, visit us at oakmountain.us.
8:53, Community Voice, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Our guest this morning, John Hutcheson, one of 5 candidates for sheriff in Haralson County. And, John, this is where I bring in, a self-serving question. Actually, it is one that does benefit the community. Public information officer, will you bring somebody in from your police staff? Will you bring in somebody who's a fancy talker? And how will you communicate with the media and the public?
Colin, I'm glad you asked that. Since I've been at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, Director Wigington has given me the opportunity and the major, vast responsibility of being the public information officer for that agency. We have 7 regional academies throughout the state. And so what they deal with on a daily basis, plus what we deal with on the main campus in Forsyth, I, myself, handle all the public information. I feel like working with the media is a delicate situation sometimes, and what I portray to all of the reporters that I deal with is I want to put our organization in a positive light when we can. And so that will be something that I will take on myself for the first while, and that goes back to being frugal as well. I'm not going to pay someone to do something that I feel that I can do myself, and especially when we have a major case or something like that. If I get the opportunity to be elected sheriff and lead this organization and be that department head, I feel like that I'm the one that needs to be portraying that message. The voters and the constituents and the citizens, they need to be hearing that information, and I want it to be coming from the sheriff himself. So I will be the one handling the public information. Now, I have in mind, someone that will work in the office as an administrative assistant to help with the social media platforms and getting our message out. But I have several years under my belt of knowledge of writing press releases and things like that. So it'll be time management, but I feel like that's a responsibility that I want to carry myself for the first while.
And you'll know how to treat our delicate egos. We've got about 4 minutes left in our program with John Hutcheson here. District 3 Commissioner Adam Budde, Haralson County District 3 Commissioner, he brought forth a resolution for commissioners to approve, I guess about a month or two ago, designed to prohibit or impede the enforcement of certain gun control measures perceived to violate the Second Amendment. Haralson County, they supported that wholeheartedly, the government did. But experts suggested that the sanctuary resolutions are just basically symbolic and not legally binding. How would you approach Haralson County being a sanctuary county as a sheriff?
Well, I supported Adam bringing that, and I'm glad that he had the fortitude to bring that to the Board of Commissioners, and I'm glad it passed. Colin, I will be a sheriff who will stand beside our citizens and defend our citizens' constitutional rights. If given the opportunity to be the sheriff, when I take the oath, I will have to swear and affirm to uphold the Constitution of the state of Georgia, but also the Constitution of the United States. And I'm a valid supporter of the Second Amendment. I won't call his name, but I had one voter resident ask me about, John, how many rifles do you think that we need or we should have? And I told him, I said, I will support you in buying as many rifles as you want to until your wife tells you that you've got enough. And so I will stand beside our citizens to make sure that we keep our right to bear arms and we keep our guns and firearms. And I will not allow our deputies and I will not advocate our deputies to take anybody's firearms. I think that's a violation, and it is a violation of the Second Amendment, and I'm just not in support of it.
John, we got about 1 minute. Going to test your time management here. If I bump into you on the street and you're asking me for your vote, what are you going to tell me?
Well, first of all, I'm just going to ask you for the consideration of your vote. That's what I've been trying to instill in people. You ride through Haralson County and you see our political signs, and they're littered across the county, and I'm very thankful for people who give me the opportunity to display a sign in their yard. But signs don't vote, and that's what I've been trying my best to spend my time and invest my time in as people. I've enjoyed very much going into people's homes and where they've invited me into and being able to sit down and talk about some of the issues. And I want to listen to the people's issues, not just trying to sell myself. I want to hear about what they've got